Okay, so let's get started. So post-COVID, it's all about teams, all about teams. And I have teams highlighted like this because, we all know the acrostic: together, everyone achieves more. And today's leaders, are losing sleep at nighttime because they're thinking about employees. For a while there, we had a shortage of employees. Now we have a surplus of employees. Now employees are remote, or the new term is called mobile, because again, they're a little more mobile. Remote kind of means that they're off on their own. And of course, that's not the case, because hypothetically, they've got support from home office. But if you don't have the right person with the right independence and mentality to start on their own, right, to be self-starters, then that's going to make it a little bit more difficult to have a good job match. In addition to that, we have generation from the millennial generation, Generation Z. And by the way, the new generation is Generation Alpha. So that's the new generation that's coming up behind the Zers. They want more work-life balance. Generation Alpha, they might even have a side hustle on the side, in order to make ends meet. Because again, as they enter the entry level, they want to make some additional monies. And again, the internet, here we are, right, online, makes it real easy to get that side hustle going. So if you have an issue with that, you're not going to be a very happy camper. And so today's leaders have to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open to what the reality is out in the marketplace. Currently, we have about 70 million jobs, but only 11 million people to fill them. And as we grow in the digital age, we're actually going to be losing a lot of those jobs, as many as 90 million, according to some experts. But they're going to be replaced with more higher tech jobs. So our strategies, need to change. Our investors need to look at things a little bit differently. And here in the United States, we're looking at things one quarter at a time, whereas in other places, they're looking at things 10 years, 20 years down the line. China, for goodness sakes, has 1,000-year business plans, transferring from one dynasty to the other dynasty. Isn't that amazing? So, investors get a little wonky when they don't get their return on that quarter. And so they need to get used to that, some infrastructure at the facility, at the company, needs to be built in order to get that ROI for the future. So the ability to create, build, and align teams that get the job done is going to be very important, not only because of the current job market, but also with more diverse folks getting into the job market. And so we want to use objective data rather than relying on gut feelings to hire those employees, to make sure that they have the right fit, because the right fit is going to help us avoid turnover, right? Conflict. And we want to instead build and maintain that trust and cohesion so that the employees stay, we have a higher retention rate, and then we start picking up critical mass. If our organization is just churning these employees over and over, and, well, they're standing in line to get in. I can get 10 of those right now, because that's an unskilled job. Well, then guess what? You are going to have a huge, huge cost. One of my clients up in Portland, Oregon, is a 1,000 employee outfit, and we were having a 20% turnover. This one time, I witnessed the vice president of human resources. We were walking the production floor, and this place is huge. It's like 5 miles, just to get to the other side of the building. The materials handlers there actually put in anywhere from 7 to 10 miles a day, walking the parts back and forth. And so I saw her just fire a forklift operator that had the hoodie on. You know the rules. that limits your site. You're fired. And in Oregon, it's an at-will state. So, they can fire at will. And I said to her, wait, what, have you trained this person? Have you given them a, no, I can get them a dime a dozen. Well, guess what? That dime a dozen was costing them more than the dime a dozen, because in a couple of weeks, I sat down with her and the general manager and gave her an analysis on what that turnover rate was actually costing this organization. And for their size, it was bottom line costing them $6.5 million. So dime a dozen, really? The proof is in the pudding. So again, it costs us more to churn and burn, as they say. So we want to make sure that we not only hire right, but we also do what we can to grow, develop, and retain our employees so that we have tenure. The other thing to think about right now is with the baby boomers, if you do not have a strategic plan, going back to the top 4 that we talked about, if you do not have a strategic plan to download all of that knowledge that your employees that have been there 30, 35, and 40 years, when they retire, and we are having 10,000 baby boomers retire per day. All right. So when they retire, guess what? All that knowledge, boop, 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 out the door. Okay. So we need to capture that knowledge. And if you don't have a strategic plan for that, do it. One of my other companies, the Wilbur Curtis Coffee Company, you'll see their commercial coffee makers at Starbucks, Circle K, Chick-fil-A, and so forth. They implemented that if you are retiring within the next 2 to 5 years, we will then connect you with a younger employee, and we want you to be their mentor and actually have a formal mentor protege program in order to start downloading that knowledge, because it's not going to happen overnight. So again, if you're going to retire within the next 2 to 5 years, let us know, right? And that makes sense, doesn't it? So again, if you take a look at aligning your strategy with the results that you want to get, these are some of the ways that you can do that. The top strategic priorities that we want to take a look at, of course, in any organization, and I've worked at places transactional, so accounting firms. Really, one of the coolest ones was the software development firm for the F-35 airplane. And just brilliant people, no process and precision really well, but the teamwork and the warm fuzzy, not really there. So that's an area that we had to teach and we had to grow. The results and discipline, same thing, with that particular organization, bunch of brilliant astrophysicists, rocket scientists, but, analysis paralysis, because again, those type of folks, Carlos, it's not perfect, I hold it back, until it's perfect. Well, you know what, Sally, can you give me like at least some milestones that we can then create a plan for? When we get those milestones, even though it's not perfect, at least we have moved the ball along the line. Okay, great, we can do that. And then involve the team in the decision-making and the output, so that then that's able to drive the results that we want instead of waiting for Sally, because, Sally might be a procrastinator. And so the team would drive the decision-making and the progress. So innovation and agility, also very important, creating and redefining the company. This is where your salespeople would be, your influencers would be. And so we want to make sure that we have a well-balanced team. At a satellite manufacturer that I was working at for 5 years, we had Hans. And Hans is this German guy, get it done yesterday. If you arrive at a meeting 15 minutes late, his saying was, if you arrive early, you're late. Come on. And he was like, go. And Hans, we got to slow down. We got to slow down to reflect on the progress we made. No. Move it on. And it wasn't until we were able to present some different data in Minitab, which is a statistical software that we use, that stopped Hans in his tracks. And he says, we have never seen that pattern before. What does it mean? Boom. So between his engineering team and myself, we were able to show him what this meant. And this really helped us with this one really complex antenna that had multiple parts that, had to be aligned correctly on a full moon in a Volkswagen going backwards. Otherwise, they wouldn't work, right? So that after that, Hans was able to relax when we were able to put in somebody that had the warm and fuzzies and created the teamwork and the cohesiveness in order to have some fun, be able to share the data, work as a consultative approach. And that was very important. That was opposite of Hans, who was just a driver. Go, 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 go. And so that was able to balance him out. This brings awareness to Hans, but not only that, it brings awareness to leaders, giving them a deeper understanding of where they're at, their strengths, their potential blind spots, their preferences, and maybe where there's synergy between them and their team. I'm currently working with an executive of an organization who is always the smartest guy in the room. He's got all the decision making, right? All the great ideas. And if you come up with an idea, he steals your idea. So his team is very reticent to participate. And so they offer so much and they have years of experience, but he's not using that synergy to his best advantage. And so he's creating a non-effective team because basically there is no team. It's command and control, right? And so we have to be willing to let go in order to move forward. By the way, synergy is a $5 word that means collaboration and getting better ideas than if we were just doing or compiling those ideas on our own. It's what we call 1 + 1 = 3. If Ruben and I fight about an idea, Ruben's got an idea, Carlos has an idea, Bulldog, Rabbit, right? We're never going to move forward, right, Bulldog? But if we get together and we decide on consensus and we document it and we value stream map it and we do swim lanes and we go out to Gemba, where the action is. That's the Japanese word for where the action is. And in the factory, it's the factory floor. In an office, it's actually where you do the work. And Gemba, Gen is the official word, or Gemba, Gemba, where the action happens, right? Then we come up with a third idea. It's neither Ruben's or Carlos's, but whose is it? Ours, together, you see? And what that does is it takes all the conflict out of the situation, because sometimes, you get the angel or the devil effect. Whose idea is it? Or it's Carlos's idea. Well, you know what? If people don't like Carlos, you got the pitchforks and the torches. Storm the castle. Can't be a good idea. Right? But if they love Carlos, that's a great idea. And it can be the stupidest idea in the world, but because it was Carlos, you see? And so we just allowed Carlos to hijack the team consensus. And consensus is built on the thought that ordinary people really being committed to a process come out with a better outcome than if they were a bunch of PhDs that are only, half-hearted, right? So we call that, instead of being a chicken, right? Partial commitment, just the eggs, you got to be the ham, be willing, be willing to die for your idea. And that's very important. So leaders also need to learn about others. And again, the makeup of the team. What are the team strengths? What are the individual strengths? What are potential blind spots for not only the individuals, but also the team? And what are the gaps? So we do a gap analysis. And one of the ones that we all know and love is a SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. But another one that's really cool, and we did this with a $4 billion public utility, is a SIPOC. And that is a Six Sigma methodology that stands for suppliers. So who supplies information in and out to the process? What are the inputs, right? What are the entry points? Where are the exit points? What is the process itself? Maybe there's a sub process. So we go level 1 process, right? Level 2, and then all the steps in between. What are the outputs from that process? You see? And then finally, who is the customer? And the customer can be multiple customers, can be departments. By the way, the suppliers can be customers, the customers can be suppliers. So what this methodology allows the folks to look at is look at the situation in all kinds of different ways. And yesterday, I was working at a Chinese global company that makes the inserts for the Michael Jordan shoes, right, out of carbon fiber. They also make medical orthotics. And boy, they thought I was crazy when I was challenging them to look at things differently. I said, for instance, this room, and I laid on the floor and they're looking at me like, what the hell is he doing? I said, now, isn't this looking at the room in a different way? You see, like up there, I see that there's a spot, there's a light out. Oh, we didn't notice that. I said, well, there you go. You see, that's the point. You want to take a look at things differently. And that's the power of the team and the power of letting them do that. There is no right answer. There's no right answer. There's no stupid questions, right? If it's important to them, it's important to them. And so we want to allow the leader to see themselves, the team, the strategy, and at least in a centralized place. And we use either a Kaizen newspaper or Microsoft project, or we use some other kind of software to keep everything aligned, so that we not only keep track of the progress of the deliverables, but also the players themselves. Where are they? Do we have the right players in the right seats for the right team? What kind of team is this? Is this an alignment team? Is this a problem-solving team? Is this a growth team? So we actually slice, dice, and chop each individual member, the team, and the task itself to make sure that we are going to get the desired results. And then, of course, in Ruben's book, The Shortcut, he talks about that you can dream all you want, but unless you have an action plan, right? It's just a pipe dream, my friend. So we got to have an action plan, which gives us a clear path forward to building and aligning the team. So what happens when we put the wrong people in their job? And, again, you can say, well, the wrong job. Well, you're going to incur higher productivity costs. We're going to have hiring costs because we're churning. And so we got to keep hiring and hiring and hiring. And, the Department of Labor says that, it could cost us as much as 245% of first-year salary. And so, again, you're just throwing money out the window. Lost clients because, of course, there's no consistency, or maybe the wrong hire makes a mistake, saying the wrong thing or mishandling one of the very important clients' issues, right? Employee morale, people churning all the time, revolving door. And by the way, there's this glass door out there. So employees will diss you online if, you're not an employer of choice or have a good culture, because that's one of the things that millennials, Gen Zers, and Gen Alpha want: a good culture. They want a culture of collaboration, a culture that is, as they say, chill. That's a chill culture. And remember also that one bad apple, right, spoils the barrel. So we don't want to do that. In my line of field, we say, speak with data. Opinion is one thing, data is another. So as much data as we can collect on the job itself, what the duties for the job are going to be performed, what are the interactions, what traits, what attributes are needed for that trait, and we write those out and come up with an ideal employee profile. Now, we do this with an assessment tool, and there's various assessment tools that we have worked with. We have worked with DISC, we've worked with PSI, but one of my vice presidents of human resources, Debbie, that I've been working with now for 20 years at 2 companies. She used to be the VP at one company, and now she's a VP at another one. She turned me on to Predictive Index. And so we use Predictive Index as the software of choice. Why? Just about does everything automatically. Okay. I'm not trying to sell you on it here. It just works for us. And so you need to find what works for you. But if you got questions on it, be happy to give you like a 15-minute demo, and you would know within 15 minutes if that's a good job match for you. So aligning the stakeholders around job requirements, and rather than working in a vacuum, actually going out to the workforce and having the workforce give you input on what traits and attributes and duties are needing to be performed. So that brings you a step above just team interviewing, because by the time team interviewing, if they don't have voice in who they're interviewing, what the heck, right? The worst thing that I have seen, and still happens out there, it's unbelievable. And like I said, my problem executive, this is his style. Hey, we just hired, Jose or Bob over here. Here he is. He's your new coworker. He's your new employee. Okay. I never had any say in this. No, but we interviewed him. He's okay. He's going to work out. Wrong, right? Wrong. What if there's personality issues, right? How do I know that he has the right attributes? And I tell you, I worked for 4 years for the largest food franchise company in the Philippines. They are even larger than McDonald's, and they actually own Burger King, right? But they also own 3 other brands. And so I worked with them for, like I said, 4 years. And one of the things that was impressive is that they had, for every single position, they had the ideal candidate profile. And in order to even get interviewed, you had to match 80% of those attributes, or you did not get interviewed at all. And guys, some of you guys are going to go, oh my God. But 5, maybe 10 years ago, these guys were paying $16 and $17 an hour for entry level. Why would they do that? Because the employees that they got rocked. It was amazing. To be a mechanical engineer, to help them with their chicken, their kitchen design. They do sell chicken. That's why I got chicken and kitchen mixed up. They had to pass 3 entrance exams, and they were losing 70-80% of the candidates. And they asked me, hey, Carlos, we're losing 70-80% of the candidates. Do you think that we should make it easier to be an engineer over here? And I said, what do you think? And they said, no. I said, there's your answer. And I'm telling you, they actually embraced the lean methodology of the backwards U. And now their kitchens, instead of being organized in the traditional triangle, right, for a normal kitchen, they actually have their process in a U, because that helps out the speed when you're going pop, 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 chicken, pop, 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 chicken, right? So again, flow. It's all about flow. So identifying and visualizing the job fit, man, that's about flow. Because again, if you don't have the right employees, down the line, you're going to have anti-flow. And in addition to that, you might have, a workers' comp case, or, something that maybe you weren't planning on. So you want to use data to avoid those gut decisions and bias in scoring candidates. You also want to hire PHRs and SPHRs for your human resources duties. And that is a designation that shows not only commitment, but it shows a higher level of knowledge for that human resources professional. A PHR stands for Professional in Human Resources, and an SPHR is an individual that has 5 or more years in practice as a PHR, and that is a Senior professional in human resources. If you are looking at HR software, I would highly discourage it because, again, you need that human touch. And to use the vernacular, it ain't called human resources for nothing. So hire the right people, and then you can interview with confidence and lighten your workload. So I used to work for Prudential Healthcare a long time ago. And one of the things that was really amazing is that they sent the entire team, 15 of us, to different places to get trained. We got trained in the Covey method. We got trained in Ken Blanchard's situational leadership, Activist coaching, Zenger Miller, which is now Achieve Global, behavioral hiring. And so these were powerful, powerful tools that not only gave us more skills, but also standardized the way that the management team approached hiring and managing individuals, you see? So if you hear somebody coming in to your organization, and it doesn't matter if, whatever it is, and even in the public sector, and they're saying, okay, all this stuff is going by the wayside, you're doing it my way, that's not the right person for you. But again, if it's the standard way, if it's whatever the standard way is, train everybody to do the standard way, have the policies and procedures, train and train and train and train, then that is going to help your organization get some traction, become more effective, create that rock star team that you all came here to find out about. And that's one way to do it. So again, traits, attributes, the skills, the education, the capacity for learning. So that's an important one. And by the way, people learn differently. So the diversity in learning is that some people are visual. 60% of the population, 68, is visual. 28% are auditory. They learn by hearing. And then the remaining ones are kinesthetics, a little bit higher for true kinesthetics. So they learn by feeling, by doing, right? So that's very important. And so if 68% of the population is visual, why are we still giving instructions verbally, right? So we've got to do and create a lot of visual controls. So whether it's, signs and flat screen TVs, or online, training modules, then that's what we have to do, because that's the way people learn, by seeing. Self-management. So again, putting the right person in a remote situation that is independent, that's a loner, that doesn't really need that much human interaction. Perfect candidate for working at home. You have somebody like Ruben, who's outgoing, right? Vivacious and whatever, he's going to go nuts. Or I can nobody to talk to, right? So, it's ridiculous. I hear some executives talk about, accountability. How do we make sure that that's sloughing off? How do we know they're doing the work? Well, if you hire the right people for that ideal profile, you have to worry about it. All right. If you're worrying about it, then you've done something wrong. So we can show you, how to help hire the right people. So some of you may ask, what is a behavioral question? So a behavioral question is a question that actually cues the individual back to a previous time, and it actually puts them in the moment. This cueing process is used with Alzheimer's patients in order to help touch areas of their brain that maybe lost a little bit of memory. Do you remember, Ethel? Do you remember when you were a little girl, you were riding a tricycle? You remember your dad or your mom giving it to you? What happened? Tell me about that day. Oh, I remember it was Christmas, 1934. And I remember, it was snowing outside. It was so pretty. And, I was curious because there was this big package and I didn't know who it was for because I couldn't read, but I got this little package first, and I looked at it, and sure, it was a nice little doll, but I had wanted a tricycle that Christmas. And, we were just about done opening presents. And all of a sudden, my mom and dad came. We got one more present for you, Ethel. And I remember them, man, uncovering that box, and there was a red and white tricycle with, pink ribbons, and a big bow. And oh my God, you see? And so again, that's what we want to do with candidates. We want to ask questions like, hey, can you tell me about a time that you had to bend the rules? What led up to that? What happened during that? And then what was the outcome of that? All right. So what we want to hear is that, I worked for a bank one time, and we had this rule that we couldn't waive, charges, because again, that was a profit center for us. But there was this one little man. He was so sweet and so nice. And, he had a lot of money with us. And I said, Mr. Jones, let me check, with the manager to see what we can do on waiving that bank charge for you. And I went to my manager, and of course, I got it's our policy, blah, 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 right? And I said, Mr. Jones here has X number of dollars with us. He's a great, customer. He's been with us 34 years. The least we could do is, and they waived his fees. And he was so happy. He was so happy, in fact, that we didn't know he had a business, and he transferred all his business accounts over to our bank. Okay. That's what we want to hear. What we don't want to hear, and believe it or not, I have heard it interviewing candidates. I have heard, well, when I was at 3M, my kid needed paper for their kindergarten class. So I just took a couple of reams because after all, they're not going to miss a couple of reams. Really? If you're going to steal a couple of reams, what else are you going to steal? If you're going to bend the rules that way, are you going to, follow the legal, the regulatory, and compliance at our company? Thank you for your time. Interview over. So again, those are behavioral based questions, none of this crazy 5 years from now, what do you want to do with our company? All right. That's a stupid question. All right. we want to cue them on, because the past is a predictor of the future. The other thing that we want to do is we want to align the profile with the job requirements. So this is the way that we do it. And in this way, we know that we want a person that's high independent, very sociable, somewhat driving, and so more quiet, more data-based. But we also want them to be in the middle with flexibility. We don't want them to be, too inflexible, because the job needs a little bit of flexibility. And so where do we get this? Well, we go and we benchmark the gold standard employee. And again, at a previous company, there was this woman named Barbara Lorenzen, who was my number one sales rep. And back in the, I would say, early 80s, I was a sales manager for this one Fortune 100 company. And she was making a base of $2,500 a month at that time. But with her commissions, she was making $15,000 a month. Single parent, 2 girls in college, highly motivated. And we all wanted to find out, how does Barbara do it differently? So I went out with her on a ride along. I found out that Barbara got to her territory between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody else, 9 or 10. Barbara divided her territory up into quadrants. Everybody else, wherever the wind would take them. Barbara wanted a pie and coffee meeting every week. The other ones, with the monthly ones that we actually schedule for them, oh, do I have to? They're a pain in the neck, blah, 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 right? You see? In addition, we asked the team to stop by at least 7 to 10 offices and drop off your business card. Hey, I'm the local rep. You know, here we go. Here's a little squeezy. Here's a little doll, whatever. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, great. Everybody else, again, they complained. So we made this a requirement. And again, Barbara was the gold standard. Not everybody can do it like Barbara, but we said, okay, can everybody do it at least 80% like Barbara? And then we trained everybody to do it like Barbara. And then the new ones, right, we trained them on 80% of the middle ones. And so that's called the continuum of growth with an employee. And so you've got your apprentice level employees, and you should only have 10% of these employees in your workforce. 80% of your employees should be in the middle. All right. So we call those the competent employees. And then the gold standard, 10% of your workforce should be at that competent level. So there's that 80-20 rule. All right. And so the thing to watch as a manager is when that employee hops from apprentice level to competent level to gold standard. And we never have a gold standard working with an apprentice. That's too big of a jump, you see? But helping that individual person move to the gold level, okay, not too long ago, that gold standard was at that middle level, you see? And so that's what we take a look at, the continuum of growth and coming up with that gold standard. So here's what we take a look at as the ideal profile. And so based on what we just showed you, we actually map the ideal profile on up to 3 standard deviations. So this is scientific, guys. And we also take a look at a cognitive target. So our software actually asks questions with regards to skills. You know, do you know Excel? Yes, no. Well, you know, in Excel, you know, how do you set up a pivot table? Boop, 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 boop. If they tell us, you know, the steps, then we know that they got the cognizance to be able to do that. Instead of, I got that, right? All right. So again, takes a look at fitting the person that's best suited for the job, called a good job match with the traits and attributes that we talked about, with the preferences that we're looking at. If they have blind spots, can we live with those blind spots? Are those blind spots trainable? Are those blind spots going to affect the team? Or, you know, is the manager going to be able to get past that? So it's very important. We also laser focus on the right person for the right job by having what we called our funnel, right? So funnel of candidates. And we have each of their profiles there so that we can actually select the person from the existing employees in order to place in the job first. So rather than go outside, right, and bring in somebody from the outside that doesn't know our company, doesn't know our culture, we don't know if they're going to be not only a good fit for the job, but also a good fit for the culture, right? So we go there first. And, you know, when you do this, this sends a very loud and clear message to the workforce that if you are loyal to us, if you work on your skills internally, we actually have what's called a career path within XYZ company. And we take a look at hiring from within first. We call this organic growth, you see? But again, if you're bringing people in from the outside and it's not a good job match, you know, you're just asking for trouble. All right. Well, what do we do in a remote type of environment? Well, you know, you can still hire for the traits that you're looking at. Yeah. The other thing that we mentioned earlier, and maybe it was subtle, but again, the team-based behavioral hiring with the people that are not only going to be on the team, but are going to be on the value chain or the value stream with that person. That means all the departments that are connected, right? Actually interview the person in order to make sure that they are going to be responsive to their needs, you see? And so now instead of dictating from the top or dictating from HR, this is what we got to get, the people now manage up, You got the inverted pyramid now, where we are now managing management in order to get the desired results. And a lot of folks out there, unfortunately, and I see it every day, there's something on leadership. I think a couple of last week there was something on Steve Jobs and Steve Jobs' philosophy with making sure that, if you're going to hire the right people, let them do their job, right? Don't tell them what to do, right? It's crazy. I love the quote from Lee Iacocca, right? Remember the former chairman of Chrysler Corporation, which, by the way, if you didn't know this, he was one of the original members of the 1964 Mustang design team. All right. So Lee Iacocca coined the phrase, if both of us say yes, one of us is not needed. All right. So very important to not set yourself up with a bunch of yes men and women out there. You want what's called divergent ideas. All right. And those are the ideas that are going to take us to the next level of what's being called 4IR. And that stands for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And right now, there are only 114 companies throughout the world, and a lot of them outside of the United States, that are at that level. They're called lighthouse companies. And we got a long ways to go because, again, we need to shift our mentality to take a look at utilizing technology. 70% of the companies that are investing in artificial intelligence and digitization and connectivity and whatever never get past the pilot stage because they're afraid of moving forward or afraid of the investment. Because, of course, remember, one of the first things that we talked about at the top of the session today is the investors. Hey, Ruben, would you mind muting yourself? Thank you. All right. So again, the fourth industrial revolution is going to necessitate us to think differently, think scientifically, and use tools like what we're showing here today in order to get to the next level of excellence and profitability. Okay. So behavioral hiring allows management to go to a deeper level of the individual. And so again, here you see, this individual is not a good job match because at the D point there, that's about the only point that individual matches. And so you have to believe your Siri, right? Or you have to believe your GPS. How many of you put in, and by the way, here we go. How many of you put in, right, in your MapQuest or whatever software you use, directions to get to somewhere, right? And then as you're driving there, you're looking over and like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to her. I know a better way. Yeah, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. No, I'm going to go this way. And all of a sudden, traffic jam, right? Well, guess what? She knew what she was talking about, didn't she? So the point here is that a lot of people interview really well and they present themselves really well. And we get enamored. Oh, aren't they cute? Aren't they nice? Aren't they wonderful? He batted his eyes at me. I think we should hire him. Don't do it. Okay? That is the kiss of death. So stick with what the GPS tells you. And again, the cost of poor hiring in the almost 3/4 of the companies are reported that they waste about $15,000 a year. And again, the research from Gallup says, man, that could be $450 to $500 billion that is costing the U.S. right now in lost productivity because we got the wrong people in the wrong seats. I'll let you marinate on that for a few seconds. Okay, so let's take a look at 3 case studies. Yeah, Conejo, this is all well and good, but it's all theoretical. Well, you know what? It's not. So here's a company that's a healthcare company, and I've worked with many healthcare companies from clinics to hospitals to, again, managed healthcare companies in the Fortune 100. And so, but this company here had changing market. There was a high demand for what's called mimic clinics. So there's a outfit out there called I think it's called Exeter or Exeter Care, who has a real great product. I have no stock in them. It came to mind. Patients wanted speed, convenience. Right now, it's about speed, right? Get me in there fast, no waiting. See me fast. Give me my prescription fast. I'm out of there. All right. And there was pressure from the board to expand. Unfortunately, they had what we called legacy mindsets, or what Zig Ziglar calls stankin' thankin'. Okay. And so they were set in their ways. If it ain't broken, why should we fix it? It's like, oh my God. Are you kidding me? Right? So the first thing we did is we took the executive team. We did some intelligence, a quotient on them. We did some change management. We did some individual coaching, and then we got them to agree on a charter on a go-forward basis. Then from there, what we did is we created a steering committee that included the providers, so doctors, included the medical assistants, some other licensed people, LVNs, RNs, etc., customer service people, front desk people, right? Receptionists, right? So again, as many people as we could on the steering committee to at least give us some input on where we needed to go. And again, they were resting on their laurels because they had a good history of success, but they were losing clients to the competition. So we mapped each of the individuals, and we found out that there was some information missing. And we had one person that was process driven and unfortunately stayed a lot in the analysis paralysis mode. We had a large gap between teamwork and innovation and agility. And so what that meant was, again, they were stuck in their old ways, and we had nobody that was warm and fuzzy to be able to be the cheerleader to move things forward. Okay. There was a gap in the results. And so what we did is then we took a look at their strengths, their weaknesses in each of these areas, their preferences, their blind spots. And then afterwards, we came up with the changes. We recognized their gap, and we helped them to discover this gap. Again, people don't like to be told what to do, right? So I'm not what my wife calls the insultant, right? I'm going to come in and insult you, tell you what to do it my way. No. We're going to go and we're going to go a long way, and we're going to present you with data, and to the point where you're going to go, oh, wow, bing, 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 bing. Because when you allow people to discover, is it their idea or your idea, right? It's theirs. So that means it's stronger. You see, they have more commitment to it. So we help them recognize their gap. We help them understand and take a look at, through the data, who was able to be promoted from within, again, right, that career path, and then came up with a go-to-market process. We created what's called a tiger team that comes from the military, and that is a focused team. And so that became our steering committee to be able to drive the change forward, and then leveraging the team's expertise. And so we promoted one new team member, we stretched and co-developed a new strategic plan, and we were able then to leverage the team's expertise. And what the result from this was that we came up with a go-to-market plan. We purchased an additional clinic. We built 2 more, established a local footprint that made it really strong in the area, and we increased team harmony. All right, the next case study is manufacturing, of course. And in this case, we had 66% turnover. Oh my God, right? A constant revolving door, bad results on Glassdoor, employees leaving for $1 more across the street, literally. Walmart came in and started wooing them, okay? Brand reputation was suffering, production quality suffering, because what the hell, they don't care about us. So, right. And so losing at least $1 million annually. We had a hard driving, again, CEO, my way or the highway. We had a large gap in the warm and fuzzies. And we also needed to focus the team on the tight process because, they were just, again, stuck in that analysis paralysis. So again, looked at their strengths, their preferences, and their blind spots. And we came up with assigning people new responsibilities, again, from within, and then create an employee-first protocol that focused on employee development, employee growth, giving the employee more voice, right? Even to the point of a flat screen with a safety campaign. This is why I work safely. And so we had the employees come up with a collage of their family, themselves, things that they'd like to do. And again, they're not working for the company. They're working for their family. So staying safe, right, means that you go home safely with 10 fingers and 10 toes and 2 eyes, right? So that was really good. That was employee first protocol. We tapped into the team's strengths, and the team helped you build an employee playbook, right, that we trained from, because again, it's one thing to tell people what to do. It's another thing to engage employees, and that's very important. And statistics show that companies that fully engage their employees outperform their competitors by 147%. Okay, so the changes on there: reduced the attrition by 50%, saved a lot of money there. Production went up 20%, and we started winning employees back, all right, from the competition. And actually, when they came back, they said, oh, I'm so glad you reached out to us. Their management over there, man, they were really hard. They yelled at us. They screamed at us. Man, for $1 more, it wasn't worth $1 more an hour. 10 times on return on their investment with, what they paid for the assessment software. All right, the last one is a high-tech company. And in this case, we had an executive team. They were stalled, spinning their wheels. And it was managed by a fast-moving maverick. And I'm a maverick. That's the profile that is called for a person that's like, type A, always busy, always multitasking. But the bad part about that, multitasking, you got to focus, Conejo, right? So again, we had to retrain this person with some Microsoft project, Gantt charts, some time management tools. Also a large gap in the results and discipline. And so great ideas, but not really good at, bringing them to fruition. And finally, there was some interpersonal conflict with the CFO. And so that was the one thing that we needed to fix. So again, looking at their attributes, their preferences, and their blind spots, we found out that we needed to address their lack of discipline and add some rigor to the sales process, because it hadn't been written out. It wasn't standardized. Everybody did it their own way. Well, that's what we hired. We hire people that know what they're doing. No. Just do it this way, the ABC company way, right? We also, CRM, invested in a customer management system in order to keep track of customers. Up until that point in time, they allowed their salespeople to just keep their own list, which is a kiss of death. So you want to be able to control that. And then we also didn't engage the teams themselves. All right. And then what was the outcome with this? Well, 19% increase in sales. And then the investors were like, happier. The CEO Glassdoor approval went up, and it reduced the involuntary turnover. So that takes it from theoretical to the real world. And as I mentioned, in the real world, with the fourth industrial revolution, more than 70% of the companies investing in the big data and analytics, don't get past the pilot stage. So again, that lack of commitment or the resource commitment, you got to go at it for the long term. And it's not going to work quarter by quarter. You've got to do it, longer than that. I had the opportunity of working for a German conglomerate. I cannot say the name because of non-disclosure, but they hired me in the year 2000 and they gave me line of sight to the year 2020. And they said, in 2008, this is what you're going to be doing. In 2012 to 2013, here's what you're going to be doing. In 2018 to 2020, here's what you're going to do. And by the way, for each of these milestones, this is what our direct labor costs are going to be. This is what's going to be our equipment costs. This is what EBITDA, how it's going to be affected. And I'm going, you guys are planning 20 years into the future? Holy cow. All right. That was the second time that I had seen 20 years into the future. Another time was in 2010. I worked for this one company called Orthodyne, and we were working on a hydrogen bladder for automobiles. And in 2000, I got to work with a 2010 Toyota Highlander. So I got to see a car 10 years into the future. Now, that was really cool. All right, good. So scaling can be achieved with 3 must-haves. And again, whether it's talent or your organization. And first of all, it's a clear strategy, right? Without what you want to get, you're not going to get there. Secondly, you got to develop those workforce capabilities. What we talked about today, hire right, continually train and develop the individuals, involve your other stakeholders in not only giving you feedback, but also in behavioral hiring, team hiring. Finally, having the strong standards. Taiichi Ono, the father of the Toyota system, said, where there are no standards, there can be no improvement. So having standard ways of doing things are the way that we're going to be able to not only grow, but also to improve quality, right? In my line of field, in the Six Sigma field, we say variation is the enemy. Okay, everybody says variation is the enemy. All right, guys, we have come to the end of the lollipop. So if you have questions, please email us at Carlos at Lean Six Sigma Specialist.com, or my wonderful assistant, Tony. Ruben, Bulldog, any closing words from what you got out of today, my friend?
I'm guessing you recorded this, right? Because I know.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
This is great stuff. I mean, gosh, you talked about so many things. You mentioned Iacocca, right? Ford versus Ferrari, one of my favorite movies. And it was based on this book. Okay, this is a great book, Go Like Hell. And this is not about Iacocca, it's about Ford and Ferrari, but Iacocca's in there, and it's got a little bit more than the movie. So that was cool.
So give us your closing, because we're out of time here. If you would mind, give us your closing Miracle. Olympian tagline or an Olympian tip that we can utilize for today.
Gosh, another movie, Miracle, right? Those guys were from Boston College and from Minnesota. They wanted to kill each other. And there's that scene, where he says, no, Ruzioni says, who do you play for, right? Boston. And they went back and forth. He says, USA. And that was a mind shift, right? Where it's not about the name on the jersey. It's about who you're playing for. So teamwork.
There you go. Appreciate it. And as Ruben says, everybody, thank you so much for your time. Make it an Olympic day.
Make it an Olympic day. That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.